Hi neighbors, Dr. Anita Knight-Coonley here, but my students call me Dr. K. And welcome to this video, this episode of the Counselor's Bookshelf, where I want to talk with you about a resource for counseling women. So let's roll up our sleeves, so to speak, and get started. So let me pull this book off the shelf. It is called Counseling Women. It is a thick and heavy book, and it is actually probably the thickest one that I have recommended here. Let's look at a ruler here and just measure this. Look at that. Wow. Sorry. 2 inches. Yeah. 2 inches thick. So I know stereotypically people have enjoyed short books or easy reads, but it is divided really well into chapters. And I want to talk with you about why I like this book and why I think it's a really helpful resource. First of all, it is an edited book, as you can see, by a group of colleagues, starting with Dr. Patti Hinkley, who was the lead editor of this text, as well as 3 other university professors and licensed counselors. I had the opportunity to be a part of this work as well. And one of the things I really appreciate about it is it is also, in addition to its lovely cover with hues of blue, which we talked about in a previous video, the benefits of blue space for relaxing the brain, increasing well-being, promoting focus, and reducing stress. But in addition to having a beautiful blue cover, there are also blue borders throughout the text, and the text is printed in color, which is a really nice feature for a textbook when you really spend a lot of time reading. It's a sight for sore eyes. Also, you feel like you're having a conversation with clinicians, with faculty, because you get to read a bio of each of the editors. Here, you see a photograph of them as well as a short bio. That's me there. And then you also get to see a photograph and a short bio for all of the authors. And as you can see, there's just a great host. You see Dr. Andrea, Dr. Jennifer, Dr. Deborah, colleagues she often speak in her classes and she in mine, Dr. Capri Brooks, David Brown. So many wonderful faculty are represented in this text. You can see Dr. Holly Johnson, Christy Ford, Dr. John Coonley, who's a psychiatrist, Dr. Stacy Lilly. The list goes on and on. I can't list everyone. I don't want to leave people out, so I definitely recommend, check it out. There's an amazing lineup of faculty. In addition to all of these authors, which let me just take a moment to count how many authors have contributed, at least as primary chapter authors. Now, there's even other contributors that have contributed short excerpts throughout the book that may not be here on this list. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. There you have it, 30 author contributors. So I like the variety of perspectives that you find here. I like that you have a psychiatrist perspective, that you have clinical mental health counselors' perspectives, that you have people with different research focus. For example, I know Stacy Lilly, her focus is on wellness. Dr. John Coonley, his focus is on attention deficit disorder. And so you can see their interests represented in their writing as well. For example, one of my research interests and areas of focus has been in attachment theory, why and how we connect the way we do, and the science behind that, as well as chronic depression and evidence-based treatments for treating chronic depression through talk therapy. You'll also see that each chapter begins the same way. There's a consistent beginning. You'll see wisdom from above, standing in his grace, which is a devotional. You'll see an opening quote and an opening scripture. So for example, for chapter 1, which is called Cultural Issues Facing Women in Today's Society, you see the opening quote, "The fastest way to change society is to mobilize all women of the world." Charles Malik. And then you see the next quote being a scripture from Psalm 139, verse 14 in the English Standard Version. It says, "I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well." Next, you see a list of chapter objectives. So right off the bat, you know what the goals of the chapter are, as well as chapter overviews. Another thing I appreciate is the imagery throughout, right? A picture's worth 1,000 words, and we see many pictures throughout the pages of this book. You very rarely will see a full page of text without any images or graphs or charts. So I think that helps keep student interest. In every chapter, there is also a voice from the field. And this includes, again, a picture of the counselor. So you feel like you're having a discussion with a colleague, as well as their story and how it's applicable. So there's a lot of practical application and relevance here as well. The headings are really nice. They're different shades of blue, so they stand out, makes it easy to read. Also, as you know, we always end our videos here on the Counselor's Bookshelf with concepts to contemplate, inviting you to continue to contemplate concepts. And as you can see, at the close of each chapter, there's also a concept to contemplate. This is a practice that I have tried to maintain in all of the books that I have written or been a part of in recent years. Each chapter also closes with something key. I used to teach study skills seminars, and if I could only share one study skill, if you were only going to adopt one technique, and even beyond, if you're finished with your educational training, but you're still a person who values learning and growing and continued development, personal growth, and you're learning something new, reading something new, the number one study skill to help that stick is review. If you can take the time to review it. Why is that? Why is review important? It takes a certain amount of time for information to be converted from short-term to long-term memory. For some people, it's just a few seconds. For other people, it's up to 5 minutes or more. So knowing giving yourself time to convert that information from short-term to long-term memory will help make it stick, so that then you have it, you retain it. You're not having to relearn it the next time you go to it. That's why when I used to run math anxiety groups, one of the things that students would often say is that when they were in class, everything made sense. But as soon as they left and went home and looked at it, the equations looked like Greek to them. And why is that? Well, it's because the information was in short-term memory. When the professor was writing out the formulas on the board, solving for x, subtracting 2 from both sides of the equation, crossing it out, eliminating content in the equation until they solve for x, all that content was in the person's short-term memory. But once they got away from that, once they went home, forgot, got busy with other things, and went back to it, it was no longer in their short-term memory. And so they were starting again from scratch and trying to explain it to themselves, something that they had to explain to themselves, something they had not understood fully, perhaps to begin with, was leaving them feeling lost. So if they could make some time after each class to review and give that information just enough time to make it from short-term to long-term memory, then they would have a different experience. So all that to say, the chapter summary is a really helpful tool for reviewing. In addition, of course, I recommend using your handy highlighter to highlight key information and then going back to that. In addition, there's a list of key terms here to review, as well as suggested resources. So these are books that you can read beyond this thick book, right? If you have extra time. Just kidding. No, graduate school is a time of a lot of reading and study. So it's helpful to plan on enjoying that process and not leaving your education to the university, right? Taking some responsibility to go above and beyond the requirements, right? And so, for example, one of the books recommended by these authors in chapter 1 is Captivating, Unveiling the Mystery of a Woman's Soul by John and Stacey Eldridge. I read that one as well. That was a good one. All right. So then there's references after each chapter. So you can see, you could go back to the sources, which is very important. If you're taking a research course, you need to cite all your sources and add them to your reference page when you're writing a research paper. I'm just leafing through this to see what else I can can show you. But, you know, as you can see, I guess I should show you as I leaf through. As you can see, there's a lot of color. Now we're at references, so the references are going to be more full text pages. But look at that beautiful timeline. Let's see what chapter this is. This is counseling active duty women, right? And you see figure 3.1 timeline for counseling active duty women. Right, so we've got more imagery, smart art. So just kind of leafing through to show you some of this. Mental health and the female brain. Now this is one that the lead author, as you can see, is Dr. Edward John Coonley, who is a psychiatrist, and there are 2 counselors on this chapter as well. But this is on mental health and the female brain. So if you're interested in understanding how the brain works, which is really fascinating and helpful for increasing neural empathy, I definitely recommend taking a gander at this chapter. You can see the overview that lets you know what to expect. You see some nice diagrams, for example, of the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe. You know, it's always so interesting to think about the occipital lobe being right here in the back region of the brain when your eyes are here at the front part of your face. And so it's interesting to think about, you know, where things are positioned. One of my favorite areas of this book is on page 105 and 106. And this is where we talk about the parietal lobe, which processes sensory input for taste, temperature, and touch. It's involved in what's called proprioception, which is spatial sense and navigation. Researchers discovered proprioception while studying senses by which the blind could perceive their environments. Charles Sheridan coined the term proprioception, or perception of one's own, in the year 1906. According to Smimtak and Menchner, 2004, Sherrington referred to proprioception, this function of the parietal lobe, as our own sixth sense. Input relays through the thalamus to the parietal lobe. Some students find it easier to remember that the parietal lobe deals with perception due to the alliteration of the 2 words. And what I really wanted to show you, though, is this image. You see this image of ballroom dancers. And the caption says, "This photo shows a group of people learning to dance, a form of ballroom dance. Research evidence supports activities such as these may increase the volume of the hippocampus and serve as an antidepressant." So people may find it interesting to read things about what is a sixth sense, you know, and what is proprioception, right? You might be wondering, what is the hippocampus? No, it's not a university campus for hippos, of course, right? But the hippocampus is a small organ located in the middle of the temporal lobe. And so you can see here where the temporal lobe is, got just above the brainstem. You got the temporal lobe, which includes the hippocampus. So it says it's a small organ located in the middle of the temporal lobe. It processes new memory and long-term memory. It's also a major part of the limbic system. Remember, the limbic system is really involved in emotional processing. It plays a role in learning and emotion. Some researchers using magnetic resonance imaging technology have indicated that depression impacts the hippocampus. Specifically in depression, the hippocampus shrinks. It shrivels down. And some reports indicate a loss in volume of up to 20%. Imagine that, 20% shrinkage of your hippocampus. That's involved with processing emotions and memory with depression. An interesting fact is that some researchers have found that ballroom dance can increase hippocampal volume. So that 20% decrease with depression, ballroom dance literally increases the size of the hippocampus. Right? And so ballroom dance increases the size, the volume, and led to other positive changes in the brain, including increased neuroplasticity, this brain's capacity to change and adjust. They screened over 1,000 studies, conducted a meta-analysis on 8 studies, and concluded, and here's a quote from the study, "Based on the evidence, dance practice integrates brain areas to improve neuroplasticity." So what more could you want, right? An activity that allows you to listen to beautiful music, move in synchrony with other people, get exercise, boost the size of your hippocampus to guard against depression, to improve your emotional memories, and to increase neuroplasticity so your brain can grow and heal itself. These are the kind of nuggets of gold that you'll find in this book, Counseling Women. There's some more podcasts, I think, with Dr. Knapp's podcast, Mental Healthy, where we talk about this book some more. And you can learn more about it on Kendall Hunt's website. I believe Kendall Hunt offers a free sample chapter as well. By the way, Kendall Hunt is spelled like that. Kendall, new word Hunt, Hunt. But Kendall Hunt Publishing Company offers the book as an ebook as well. And it's also certainly shelf-worthy, a beautiful edition. It's a bookshelf. It's one that I really appreciate and enjoy. So I just wanted to share that with you because a colleague of mine had asked me what I liked about this book and wanted to find out a little bit more about this book. She is working on a similar edited book with an organization that I love, the American Association of Christian Counselors. And so I made this video with her in mind, but I thought that it would be helpful for all of you who may be interested in counseling women and just helpful mental health resources. So I thank you for taking the time to watch. And I wonder, of the things that we discussed, there's many more nuggets of gold in this book. Those are just a few that I wanted to highlight here. But I wonder which one of those stand out to you. What do you think is most helpful? Maybe you like having a book in color. Maybe you really like the summaries or the overviews or the key terms. But let me know. Let me know what it is. But until next time, I hope this gives you some concepts to contemplate. Bye now.